One of the key things, it's not just drug trafficking. We've seized rifles and thousands of rounds of ammunition today just in this location.
Immigration enforcement operations picking up all across the West as President Trump unveils a new plan to manage an influx of detainees. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to West Coast Wrap. I'm Alex Savage. As President Trump continues to roll out his immigration policy, his efforts are facing pushback, including from some protesters in the San Francisco Bay Area today. They demonstrated on UC Berkeley's campus late today. You can see the gathering here. They came together to call on the university to implement extra protections for its undocumented students. Now, this follows President Trump signing the first bill of his new term today. The Laken-Riley Act directs immigration authorities to detain and deport undocumented immigrants accused of theft and violent crimes. And during today's bill signing, the president also announced that he's directing the Defense Department to prepare the Guantanamo Bay detention facility to hold up to 30,000 migrants.
We have 30,000 beds in Guantanamo to detain the worst criminal illegal aliens threatening the American people. Some of them are so bad we don't even trust the countries to hold them because we don't want them coming back, so we're going to send them out to Guantanamo. This will double our capacity immediately, right? And that's a tough place to get out of.
The military base at Guantanamo Bay has been used to house detainees from the United States' war on terrorism. And as those immigration operations continue, federal authorities tonight believe that they have arrested an alleged Venezuelan gang member who was seen in a viral video that became a flashpoint in the country's immigration debate. The man is accused of intimidating neighbors at a troubled apartment complex in Aurora, Colorado, and agents found him in New York City. Fox's Kennedy Hayes has more tonight on his arrest and others that have been made during the Trump administration's immigration crackdown.
DEA agents say they have been working overtime to get criminals behind bars. In the latest arrest early this morning, the DEA-led investigation ended with police taking 3 people into custody.
One of the key things, it's not just drug trafficking. We've seized rifles and thousands of rounds of ammunition today just in this location.
DEA investigators say the raid was part of a months-long drug manufacturing ring investigation linked to the Sinaloa cartel. They are accused by the DEA of selling fentanyl and face drug trafficking charges. Federal immigration authorities in New York arrested Tuesday a suspect linked to the violent Venezuelan gang Tren de Aragua, also known as TDA. The Department of Homeland Security identified the migrant as Anderson Zambrano Pacheco. Pacheco is charged with kidnapping, assault, and burglary. Investigators believe the 25-year-old is the same guy that was part of a group caught on camera trying to kick down an apartment complex in Aurora, Colorado back in August. He was in the country illegally. Now, TDA has been tracked in at least 18 states, many states surrounding Colorado. A DEA special agent says that's because the drugs often come through Arizona or California before arriving here. Plus, gangs are scattering under pressure from the feds.
Any criminal group, when they find out that there's sort of law enforcement pressure targeting them, they move, right? That doesn't mean they're going to move from here to Florida, but they may not live in the same house they lived in last week because they're nervous that we're going to come after them, and they're right.
ICE posting on X earlier that they made over 1,000 arrests today. In Denver, Kennedy Hayes, Fox News.
We're getting a closer look tonight at deportation flights out of Arizona. The Department of Defense posted these new images online showing undocumented immigrants being flown out of Tucson International Airport last week. The Pentagon says this is an example of how the military is assisting Customs and Border Protection agents. It's unclear exactly where those migrants were being taken. Today, the White House rescinded its freeze on federal loans and grants after sparking widespread confusion and a number of legal challenges across the country yesterday. The funding freeze was set to affect schools, law enforcement agencies, healthcare organizations, and nonprofits, among many others. The White House Office of Management and Budget sent out a 2-sentence memo today to agencies and departments ending that funding freeze. Today, Democrats slammed the administration over the chaos that was caused by that move.
This is an administration whose sheer incompetence, combined with their bad intentions and willful disregard of the law, is creating mass panic and chaos and hurting people everywhere.
The Trump administration said the pause was needed to review whether spending aligned with the agenda of the administration related to issues like DEI, environmental regulations, abortion, and transgender rights. Political science professor David McEwen from Sonoma State University weighed in on this reversal by President Trump.
Pulling back and rescinding this order runs the risk of appearing to have too much chaos too fast and that you aren't disciplined. And that's really very different than what they did in Trump 1.0, something to pay attention to here the next week or so as they recalibrate.
And Professor McEwen said the attention on the federal funding freeze also allowed Democrats to focus their message, highlighting the impact of the Trump administration's policies on ordinary Americans. And you can stay on top of the latest developments coming out of the White House, and you can do that by heading to our website, westcoastwrap.com. Our online coverage of President Trump's first days back in office includes a look at how he's warning schools to stop teaching what he views as critical race theory and other materials dealing with race and sexuality, or those schools could risk losing federal funding. It's all there at our website. President Trump's pick for Health Secretary Robert F. Kennedy Jr. was grilled by lawmakers today during his first confirmation hearing that included pointed questions from Oregon Senator Ron Wyden, a Democrat who zeroed in on Kennedy's past comments expressing opposition to vaccines. During the hearing, Kennedy insisted that he is pro-vaccine.
Kennedy, all of these things cannot be true. So, are you lying to Congress today when you say you are pro-vaccine, or did you lie on all those podcasts?
He asked me, are there vaccines that are safe and effective? And I said to him, some of the live virus vaccines are. And I said, there are no vaccines that are safe and effective, and I was going to continue for every person. Every medicine has people who are sensitive to them, including vaccines.
Right, so
he interrupted me at that point. I've corrected it many times, including on national TV. You know about this, Senator Wyden, so bringing this up right now is dishonest.
into the record, a letter the committee...
Also during today's hearing, Kennedy walked back previous statements he made supporting access to abortion, calling every abortion a tragedy during questioning today. Kennedy's confirmation hearing will continue tomorrow with more questions coming from senators. In the Central Valley of California, police tonight are searching for two young girls taken by their father after their mother's body was found inside their home. Officers were conducting a welfare check in Hanford when they found the woman's body and her two missing toddlers. And they found the toddlers were missing. The girl's father, Jonathan Alexis Maldonado Cruz, is believed to have left the home with them on Monday night, driving a gray 2020 Hyundai Elantra. An Amber Alert was issued. Authorities say Maldonado Cruz might be headed for Mexico and he should be considered armed and dangerous. Authorities are asking anyone with information to immediately put in a call to 911. We turn now to a developing situation in Oregon tonight. Officers have descended on a neighborhood in Portland. That's where police say an armed man has barricaded himself inside a home. Fox's Michaela Armstrong reports tonight on this tense standoff that started before noon today.
Yeah, we're seeing heavy police presence. We've seen SWAT in full gear here. We've even seen a drone. We've seen a robot on scene here. I just want to step to the side so you can just get a look at the scene here right now, as there is a heavy response that remains here for what Portland police say is a situation involving a barricaded armed suspect. Police have been out here since around 11:20 a.m. to arrest a wanted suspect who is inside of a home in the area that police say may be armed with a gun. The streets have been blocked off for the safety of the public and no injuries have been reported at this time. But this is an ongoing incident and police are asking those in the area to stay out or to stay locked inside. We'll have more updates on the situation here as we continue to know more. I'm Michaela Armstrong in North Portland. Back to you.
All right, we turn now to Hawaii, and a $4 billion settlement has been reached with the victims of the deadly wildfire in Hawaii. This last-minute agreement means that victims and survivors will not have to testify in court and relive the pain and loss from that fire on the island of Maui that killed more than 100 people back in 2023. The settlement was agreed to by the state of Hawaii, Hawaiian Electric, large landowners, and other key players. Hawaii's governor says this settlement will help to avoid drawn-out and painful lawsuits for the victims. Coming up tonight on West Coast Wrap, preparing to launch electric air taxis, the bold step taken by the governor of Utah in an effort to make that a reality.
And in weather, here's our live camera in the San Francisco Bay Area, looking above San Francisco, at least for today, some dry conditions. But parts of the West Coast, we're talking about more rain back in the forecast as we head toward the weekend. We'll have the update coming up.
This is coming from the Lord, this sacrament. And so it's impossible for a priest to comply this bill in this one instance.
You're failing us.
Controversy in the Pacific Northwest over a proposal that would require priests to go against their sacred obligations under certain circumstances. Coming up on West Coast Wrap tonight, what could land them in legal trouble if new legislation passes. Some state lawmakers in Washington are pushing new legislation that would require Catholic priests to go against their sacred obligations. As Fox 13's AJ Janavel reports tonight, the backers of this bill believe that it will help to protect victims of abuse.
The reason this is controversial is because this law would require priests to report abuse that they learned about through confession, something that goes against their religion.
I am myself a survivor of sexual abuse. I was abused from the ages of 5 to 10. And only when I told my 5th grade teacher that I was being abused did it stop.
A fight personal to her own life. Senator Noelle Frame has been pushing to change state law for years to add priests and clergy to the list of mandated reporters of abuse. This year is different, though. She's pushing the law forward without any restrictions, specifically when it comes to confession.
At a personal human level, couldn't stomach the idea of having an exemption any longer. And I think we need to go straight to all clergy should report child abuse and neglect, no matter what context in which they learn that information, because it's about protecting children.
This is where controversy arises.
It's a liturgy. It's an act of worship. It's prayer for us. The seal of confession is essential to the rite because a penitent has the right to confess their sins without worrying their sins will become public. The penalty for breaking that seal is excommunication.
Bishop Frank Schuster says he supports this effort, but says including confession is a violation of their freedom of religion.
This is a sacrament that comes from Christ, you see. That's it. This is coming from the Lord, this sacrament. And so it's impossible for a priest to comply this bill in this one instance.
You're failing us. If religious communities don't want to put members of their clergy into an impossible situation, then they can change their doctrine and their rules.
I reached out to the Washington State Catholic Conference, who responded with a statement that reads, in part, the Washington State Catholic Conference, representing the 5 Catholic bishops, are supportive of making sure clergy report reasonable suspicions of abuse. However, we do ask that the state respects our right to practice our religion and make an exemption for information received in the sacrament of confession. The statement goes on to say, Senate Bill 5375 clearly states that clergy are the only group with a recognized privilege for certain communications who lose that privilege in the reporting context despite First Amendment protections for the free exercise of religion. The bill continues to protect attorney-client privilege and all other privileges. This is a topic we'll continue to keep an eye on. Reporting in Seattle, I'm AJ Janavel, Fox 13 News.
Arizona's newest state Supreme Court justice is making history. Today, Governor Katie Hobbs appointed Judge Maria Elena Cruz, the first Black and Latina person to serve on Arizona's Supreme Court. And she's also only the 6th woman to be appointed to that position. Cruz is a graduate of the University of Arizona Law School and has worked as a prosecutor in the Yuma County Attorney's Office. She's served on the bench since 2005 and was appointed to the Court of Appeals in 2017.
For many, this day is long overdue. And so today we celebrate. We celebrate that Arizonans will look at their highest court and see a group that looks more like them.
Cruz is replacing Justice Robert Brutinel, who announced that he was retiring in October. Well, the Phoenix Valley broke a 100-day streak without rain today. Here's what things looked like as rain was falling in Chandler early this morning. Farther north from there, this winter system brought some light snow to the town of Prescott. EarthCam captured images of snow-covered rooftops there late this afternoon. For more, let's bring in KTVU meteorologist Mark Tamayo, who is tracking that cold system and the conditions across the west. Mark?
Hi there, Alex. Yeah, the radar agrees with those videos we were just watching, the rain and the snowfall, as you can see in parts of Arizona. So fairly active radar from earlier today. And so you can see the snow showers just to the south of Flagstaff, and the overall coverage has been diminishing over the past few hours. Here is the wide view across the Pacific, and as you can see, there's not a lot to show you right now, but there's a system out here that will boost the rain chances up in the Pacific Northwest for tomorrow. This was the scene today in Seattle, showing you lots of sunshine, temperature of 47 degrees. We're definitely had some more clouds to the mix for tomorrow. In San Francisco, some partial clearing this afternoon, partly cloudy skies, 54 degrees in San Francisco. And then in Arizona, Phoenix, we're showing you some of the clouds from earlier this afternoon, and temperatures in the upper 50s for today. Currently it's 53 degrees in Phoenix. Las Vegas is 52. Reno in the upper 30s and some lower 40s for Seattle and in the Portland area. Here is the plan for tomorrow. Up in Seattle, the rainfall will be making a comeback. In San Francisco, some clouds in the morning, maybe some snow out toward the Denver area during the morning hours, then more sunshine for Phoenix and a sun cloud mix for Southern California. Here is the forecast model and some changes showing up here. This is a Thursday afternoon. Those rain showers moving into Seattle. That's the one spot, and then some more widespread rain expected to move into Oregon and portions of Northern California. That'll be the setup into Friday, and more rain for those areas as we do move into the weekend as well. So take a look at the rainfall projections. Not a lot to show you in Southern California, 0.01 in Los Angeles potentially, but here we have those brighter colors kind of blossoming over Northern California and up in the Pacific Northwest. So the rainfall is making a comeback and eventually spreading to the south. Here's the forecast over the next 3 days. Seattle, they do have the rainfall making a comeback tomorrow and still a bit unsettled into Friday as well. For San Francisco, rain expected Friday, and that will actually continue into the weekend. Southern California, probably just some clouds back in the area. In the Phoenix area, temperatures approaching the lower 70s by Saturday. And then Denver, they do have the possibility of some snowfall tomorrow morning, but then partly cloudy skies into the afternoon hours. So definitely some more rain kind of expanding across parts of the West Coast for Friday and into the weekend. Alex.
All right, Mark, thank you. Well, Utah has made a transformative first step toward establishing futuristic air travel in that state. Utah Governor Spencer Cox signed a memorandum of understanding with 47G and Beta Technologies with the ultimate goal of bringing electric air taxis to Utah. Those involved in this effort say that it will cut commute times, increase access to rural and urban communities, and improve air quality. Under the memorandum, the companies will begin establishing airports over the next year and a half, where they'll put electric charging stations for the aircraft. They'll then begin moving packages and eventually people.
We're building a foundational technology. It is an entirely new field of aerospace. And what's super exciting to me is seeing a state, the state of Utah, stepping up, seeing this trend coming.
The advanced air mobility market is projected to be valued at roughly $1.5 trillion by the year 2040. Up next tonight here on West Coast Wrap, an emergency on one pickleball court here in the West. Tonight, the bystanders who stepped in and the words of gratitude from the player they helped.
There were angels that day when I played pickleball. 6 or 8 angels right there, watching over me.
Several pickleball players in Utah are being called heroes tonight for helping a man who passed out in the middle of a game. Fox's Jeremy Toms caught up with the group to talk about his effort to save a life.
The popularity of pickleball seems to be ever growing across the country, but how has it taken on a higher meaning here in Sandy? I'm Jeremy Toms, and I'm talking with one club who says their community served to save a life.
I got hooked, and I've been playing nonstop ever since.
It's a great sport because it still can be fast and you still have strategy.
Club Pickleball USA welcomed hundreds of visitors and new members in 2024 alone.
Once I figured racquetball was hurting my back, I needed something else.
These 3 former tennis players love the balance that this game brings.
So you can play to whatever level you want.
The tournaments here at Club Pickleball can get pretty competitive. I'm learning that the hard way. But they never knew just how serious it would be come December 5th.
I was ambassadoring the event. There were 28 people. It's what's called a round robin.
I saw Kevin turn, a ball had hit over his head, and he took a turn, and next thing I know, he went down.
I just couldn't get up. I couldn't move. I answered 2 questions before I passed out.
In his first tournament at the club, Kevin Newman went into cardiac arrest on the court.
When I got to Kevin, Kevin was already in full arrest. He wasn't breathing.
Retired EMT Catherine Reinartz and several others jumped into action.
I have a retired anesthesiologist keeping his airway open, and I call for an AED.
Catherine then announced and said, anybody who's got, CPR training, please get in the line.
Mara Feinschreiber was one who answered the call. She says those minutes felt like hours.
I didn't think we were going to get him back.
But within 2 hours, they got a call from the hospital.
He had pulled through, looks like everything was going to be fine.
These bystanders say having an on-site AED is critical, and it's what saved Newman.
You can do CPR forever and ever and ever, but to shock the heart back into a normal rhythm, you have to have one.
After all the CPR Newman received, the hugs still hurt, and he's still hesitant to start playing again.
It'll be a little nerve-wracking.
But Newman says he's found a new family on these courts. Maybe they even rise above family.
There were angels that day when I played pickleball. 6 or 8 angels right there, watching over me.
In Sandy, Jeremy Toms, Fox 13 News, Utah.
All right, we want to let you know about some breaking news we are following tonight on the East Coast, a story that's getting a lot of attention here in the West. A passenger jet has collided with a military helicopter near Reagan National Airport, which is just outside of Washington, D.C. This happened while one of those aircraft was landing at the airport. There is now, as you can see from these live pictures, a major response by first responders. A large search and rescue operation is underway in the nearby Potomac River. There is no word tonight from authorities on casualties here. We don't know if people have been hurt or killed in this crash, but we do know that all takeoffs and landings from Reagan National Airport have been halted here because of this major emergency response. Again, a passenger jet colliding with a helicopter, a military helicopter near Reagan National Airport. We'll continue following that developing story. Finally, tonight, high school football programs across Colorado getting new state-of-the-art helmets, courtesy of the NFL's Denver Broncos. The team is donating 15,000 high-tech helmets to 277 high school football teams in the state. These are the same helmets worn by the pros, equipped with sensor technology that measures contact points and impact levels. School officials say the donation is truly a game changer when it comes to safety and helping to prevent concussions. Really important donation there. And the Broncos say that these helmets will last for 10 years for all those players across the state. Great to see that. That does it for West Coast Wrap tonight. We appreciate you watching. A quick reminder, stay up to date on all the major stories we're covering at westcoastwrap.com. Have a great night.